Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well today. As I promised in my welcome video that in the next upcoming videos, I would be talking about my study and especially what I'm studying, including the materials, of course. And I'm currently in my second semester in Universität Potsdam for the study of Master in Anglophone Modernities in Literature and Culture. That means in the second semester, I would still be taking a normal seminars, including um, for all the modules and also the academic essay and colloquium. And one of the materials that I've found pretty interesting in the colloquium seminar is that um, we have been studying hermeneutics for the past 2 weeks now. And to me, this is pretty interesting because I've been familiar with the term hermeneutics, especially from before as well, because as you may all have known, hermeneutics is heavily related into interpretation, especially for the religious texts, be it Bible, the Quran, or many other, or also the Torah. And however, I found out that in this study there is a new term called new hermeneutics. This I haven't actually heard before. I'm sorry, some of you might have heard about this, but to me this is so new because that means we can apply, or it's not that we can actually, it happens automatically as a part of our way into the knowledge about the cultural text, be it um, movie, be it novel, or be it posters or even memes nowadays, obviously. And in the new hermeneutics, or I in the book called Hermeneutics, a very short introduction by Jens Zimmerman. It is also coined as philosophical hermeneutics, in which we do not actually um, focus on the divine meaning or the only ultimate truth that we have to find out through all the aspects that we've been trying to look at from which view to find out this one true meaning. In the new hermeneutics, we do not actually have to put into consideration about the historical value of a text. However, it doesn't actually mean that the text or our interpretation should be ahistorical. That was in the beginning, I found it pretty interesting that so what sort of activity that is. Then if it is historical, yet it doesn't actually need to take history into the account in the making of the text. Because then later on, I found out that this is not about the text only, and this is more about the art of interpretation. This is getting more interesting as I read on, because then what is the art of interpretation? Then is it actually a very viable kind of method in trying to find out the meaning or interpret a meaning from a cultural text? Before we go there further, I would like to take us a little bit to the side in the concept of knowledge and understanding. According to this book, understanding or gaining understanding and knowledge comes as a very basic step of us for us for everyone when it comes to having when we deal with a text, any text that is. And the process, for example, when we see a red traffic light, we do not come into interpretation of what that means. Does that mean stop, or does that mean safe for the cyclist to cross, or anything like that? We understand that before we interpret that. And then the meaning of or understanding comes first. And that means hermeneutics also kind of concerned about understanding. And when we understand something, we do not have this kind of objective point of view. We will go into that later as well when it comes to hermeneutics and science, also from this book. And for now, we would look at the way we understand something that is pretty subjective, and we understand something according to our circumstances. The way Heidegger explained about Hermes, that basically, according to Heidegger, um, Hermes was delivering the fate to human, and fate was important for human. That means the fate. That means that Hermes was delivering the fate to the human, which is quite important to the human circumstances. From that on, then we can conclude that actually um, messages or knowledge or information, the way we understand those really or closely related to our circumstances at that time. Jens Zimmerman took a very simple example about that, and I guess it really took me into understanding that however way we try to be objective about something, we still have to have this certain amount of subjectivity, which is inevitable. Jens Zimmerman used the example of how somebody, after parking the car and walk 6 blocks in the city to come into an auditorium to enjoy a performance, and on the way to the auditorium is not a nice starry night, but it is more about pouring rain and how it is cold and drenched all over. And then you would see the seat in the what is that in English? Well, let's say, and then you would see the comfortable seat in the auditorium. Then you would start to internalize what that comfortable seat for you at that time, who is drenched and tired and maybe slightly irritated and annoyed. Then that seat could mean something more than just the size and the dimension and the comfortable effect of the sofa or cozy seat. So we value and we internalize the value of that sofa according to our circumstances, and that is the same thing with almost everything that we have in our lives. However, when it comes to understanding, I also would like to remind, not to remind, I would like to share with you that by reading this, it's kind of like also a what do you call, like an not allowance, but this is also kind of as a encouragement that it is okay to actually take on the personal touch in doing something, and um, that it is okay to also include yourself in the process of finding the knowledge or the truth or the meaning in any cultural text. However, though, this is not relativism. Some people are confused about what it what do you call, like, what is the difference then if we include our personal point of view in trying to find the truth or in understanding the knowledge. Is that because in relativism, then everything is relative, and according to it, it is something is valued or something is true according to according to a different point of view. Let's say something can be right or wrong. There's no right answer because it depends on who actually sees that. However, in philosophical hermeneutics, we do not think like that. Then, when it comes to relativism, then I would like us to also jump into the last chapter of that book, which is Hermeneutics and Science, because then after reading the comparison between hermeneutics and relativism, I would like it kind of tickled some curiosity. And if philosophical hermeneutics is kind of universal, that we can actually, or that it supports the way we see something a little personally, and also, let's say, an engaged self or an engaged person in trying to find the truth, then how about all of those scientific experiments and discovery and stuff like that? Isn't that heavily scientific and methodical and not divine, but I would say n- definitely not relative, but this is something that can't be debated. Jen Zimmerman also even mentioned that 2 plus 2 is 4 after all, and it doesn't actually matter who actually sees it, or where somebody comes from. 2 plus 2 is the same in Tahiti to California to the Antarctica, that 2 plus 2 is 4. However, um, when it comes to science, this is pretty interesting that in according to philosophical hermeneutics, in trying to find the truth, even in the scientific experiment and in any um, scientific approach, is that, for example, I've been really interested about taxonomy, and I know that, yeah, I'm not a natural science student, but to me, taxonomy is pretty interesting in the way it is so prominent in ruling um, the knowledge or ruling the definition in the study of biology, evolution, and in the practical side, that it really matters to conservation. I read a book about Linnaeus and Darwin, and also the newer efforts in taxonomy. And I'd like to say that this is heavily scientific, and nowadays we can actually check whether one species is actually related to another within the same genus through this DNA sequencing nowadays and many other more prominent technology. What I'm about to say is that all of those methods to find out the truth about something in the laboratory is pretty scientific and methodical. However, we still cannot forget that the scientists who are doing that are also person, which means that the way they direct their experiment is always based on their experience. For example, how do you know in the past or after a while that where to look, for example, about this DNA sequencing thing and about finding out how this species is related or not? You would know where to look only based on experience or based on what everyone before you has done before. So this is not about something that is always methodical in trying to find the knowledge. Of course, as soon as you spot something, then you always proceed within the scientific framework. But the way you spot something is not written methodically. So, in other words, there is no way to there's no rule in making rules, or maybe not no rules in making rules, but there is no rule in trying to find where to look at. This kind of examples we've probably heard before, that many great scientists in the past, including Einstein, got so many inspirations, not in the lab, of course, but also by dreams revelation, by everyday observation. And there is no rule to actually where to look on your everyday observation. And there is no book or there is no particular guidelines to where to look first. It's just what you do, and then you will get inspired, and then you proceed into the scientific procedure. So, in other words, hermeneutics is kind of an encouragement, or not an encouragement, that philosophical hermeneutics allows you to be okay to be human. So you don't have to always detach yourself in trying to find the knowledge or the truth. In fact, it is okay to actually be human, and that the human and personal contribution is um, acknowledged. Because after all, like we cannot actually find, I mean, I'm still talking about the scientists, we cannot find, the scientists can't find the actual results or anything without any passion, without any personal approach and personal desire to actually find what it is actually what they're looking for. All of those can't be written in the guidelines, and even in their reports, for example, they can't say that something is um, revealed to them by dreams. They can't. But then what they have to write is their scientific findings, which is that's what it is in the natural science, which is, yeah, we can't change that. Like I said, after all, we can't actually defy what is the physics law, which is universal, but we also can't forget that this is not a very detached process from the scientists to find the truth. And after reading only these two chapters and a little bit in between, like, for example, hermeneutics in law, and hermeneutics in arts, and hermeneutics in philosophy, I kind of felt so much better that um, as an English literature student, we work heavily with, um, I wouldn't say personal, but we do not have a laboratory where we can test a theory. What we can do is basically a literary review and all of that, and that's also the same process. We can only know where to look, and through anything, through experience, through our guidance from our professors, and the like. And there is no actually, there's um, the process outside of the methodical research is basically depends on the person and on the scientists themselves. So that's what I got from reading about this introduction to hermeneutics. I hope you enjoy it. And if I talk too fast or I'm being confusing or anything, please comment. And I would like to also ask you for your suggestions. I'm from Indonesia, and I speak English as a second language, and I'm currently learning German because I study in Germany. And I would like you to suggest in which language I should deliver the content. Um, as you can see, probably that my um, content is heavily kind of academic, not heavily academic, but this is related to study and stuff. I would like you to share which language I should do it, because I would like it uh, to be enjoyed by more and more people. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.